Zack Polanski has achieved a landslide victory in the race to become leader of the Green Party. As you can see here in this graph from friend of Novara, Stats for Lefties, Polanski achieved a stunning 84.6% of the vote, while Green MPs Adrian Ramsey and Ellie Chowns got just 15.4%. That is an overwhelming mandate from Green Party members for Polanski's populist left-wing offer, with Zack getting over 20,000 votes to Chowns's and Ramsey's 3,000 ballots that were cast. And as Polanski's victory was announced, this video dropped.
Why is everything so shit? Our wages are shit.
500,000 workers protesting over pay, jobs and conditions.
Our rivers are swimming in shit.
Across England last year, raw sewage spilled out to England's rivers, lakes and coastal waters.
And most politicians, they're full of it too.
Order! Order!
And here's the truth. Those same politicians sold you out. The people you voted for, your supposed representatives, they stopped serving you a long time ago and now entirely serve big business. And once you see it, everything clicks. Follow the money and you will see both Starmer and Farage whining and dining hedge fund billionaires, oil and gas companies, arms traders, same dealers, same game. So what am I going to do that's different? I'm Zack Polanski, the new leader of the Green Party. And for starters, I'm saying this out loud. That's going to make me enemies fast. But I'm not here to make friends with the people wrecking this country. I'm here to take them on. And I know I'm not doing this alone.
Perhaps Polanski is taking some cues from the success of Zohran Mamdani across the Atlantic in New York City. This is an extremely Mamdani-coded clip. And left-wing success at the top of the Greens didn't stop with Polanski. Leeds councillor Mothin Ali and Sussex Council co-leader Rachel Millward were elected Deputy Green Party leaders. Ali, who we've previously interviewed on Novara Live, intervened to calm tensions in his local community during unrest last summer. Membership of the Greens reached a record high of 68,000 people during the leadership campaign. And here's what new leader Polanski had to say in his victory speech today.
People in this country are exhausted. They are tired. They are sick of working long hours and never feeling secure. They see water companies pumping sewage into our waters and charging us extra for the privilege. And they see how broken the old two-party system is. And we know this political space has been ripe for charlatans like Nigel Farage and Reform. Millionaires who are pretending to serve working class communities, but are actually backed by the same billionaires who are destroying our democracies, our communities, and our planet. So it is an absolute moral responsibility in this moment for the Green Party to step up with the bold politics that I know that we have, to say to people that we can and we will lower your bills. We will nationalise the water companies. We will hold this Labour government to account.
Polanski also announced where his first stop as Green Party leader would be.
I am straight to UVW, that's United Voices of the World. This is a migrants' union. And let's be clear, this is a total show of intent of what this party is. We listen to the poorest communities, whether they're migrant communities, disabled communities, the trans community, working class communities. Whoever needs us to have their back, we will be there. We will be there to amplify their voices, to listen to the most marginalised and minority communities, to speak with them, not for them, and challenge truth to power, to take on power and wealth in this country. And we absolutely recognise that migrants are very much the backbone of this country. Our country has problematic history that we also need to come to terms with, but also we have a beautiful history, a beautiful present, and a beautiful future of what we are when communities come together.
United Voices of the World is a grassroots trade union for low-paid migrant and precarious workers, if you've not heard of them before. And Polanski is deliberately planting his flag, so to speak, in a political moment when migrants and asylum seekers are increasingly demonised across the main parties. At his victory press conference, Polanski was asked whether he would work with or have an alliance with Jeremy Corbyn and Zohra Sultana's tentatively titled Your Party. This is how he answered.
In terms of the new party, I think this really speaks to the political moment. Keir Starmer is failing so badly that not only are the Green Party massively surging to his left, a movement that doesn't even exist yet. We don't even know what their policies are. People are saying anything but that, anything but the old political system. Now, I and the party clearly have a job to do to speak to those people who haven't yet joined the Green Party, to say, if you believe in environmental, social, racial and economic justice, if you want to see climate action, protect nature, workers' rights, lower bills, then join the Green Party, because this is the exact place for you. It's too soon to talk about joining or electoral coalitions. I'm actually going to steal a line from John McDonnell. I'm being fair and crediting him rather than pretending it was my own original thought. He said he's not interested right now in electoral coalitions. He's interested in intellectual coalitions. And I think that's a really sharp phrase, because I know the MPs, in fact, anyone in the party, wants to work, and as they do in Parliament, with anyone who wants to challenge a failing Labour government and take on fascism and the far right.
Such an impressive response, I think, just then. That was actually, we played three clips there. I thought that final one was really, really polished. And now we're joined, and that wasn't why I was complimenting him, by the brand new leader of the Green Party Live, Zack Polanski. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on, Aaron. It really feels fitting on this day where it's been a lot of celebration, a lot of victory to spend some time in Novara. So thank you for all that you do.
Our pleasure. Were you expecting to win by such a large margin? 85% of the vote is really enormous, isn't it?
I absolutely wasn't expecting it at all. A journalist asked me earlier today that I looked almost a little bit sick when the results were read out, which they weren't expecting. And I was just honest. I just said the kind of magnitude of the moment struck me. And I don't think you wouldn't be human if it didn't. And, within a few minutes, I kind of settled and said, okay, it's time to be leader now. Let's go. But there was definitely a moment where I was like, gosh, people really do want bold leadership.
We now know that at its peak, it may have gone down, but at its peak, the Green Party has in the mid-60s, 65,000 plus members. What do you think is a reasonable upper limit for Green Party membership by the next general election? What's the highest you think it could be? What's the ceiling? And I know you're going to say, well, there is no ceiling, but you must have some sort of target in mind, surely.
You kind of gave the answer straight away that I don't want there to be a ceiling, but I'll explain why. So, as you just said, I've just come from meeting the migrants at UVW. And one of the guys who was speaking, this is a guy who works in St. Hilliers Hospital. They're porters, caterers, and cleaners. And he was talking about the outrageousness of the fact that they're not being paid properly, that the hospital are withdrawing milk that's supplied to them at lunch, which is, a couple of quid. Yet the CEOs and executives are taking huge amounts in bonuses. And I went straight from there to speak to Sophie Ridge on Sky News. And I felt the fury of having just listened to this man and then have a conversation about migration and small boats. And the reason why I'm saying this to you is if I can feel the fury, my job is to communicate that fury. And I think when people can feel that the fury is being communicated properly and that there's a possibility for it to be turned into hope, to be turned into tangible solutions, then I don't know why lots of people will not join the Green Party. And I think people will see a lot more of the Green Party in the weeks and months to come. So where do I want membership to be? Let's say, 100,000 feels like that's unambitious fairly soon, but that's certainly the next target, so to speak. But in terms of where can it be in the next general election, I want us to keep growing and growing. The amount of attention today has been phenomenal. It's attention that the Green Party's never really had before. The real question then is, with that attention, do we keep that momentum to keep people joining the party, keep the movement going? And I'm absolutely convinced we can do that.
Ahead of the result, there was some discourse around there being a discord between you and the people you were running against. That was Adrian Ramsey and Ellie Chandler running on a combined ticket as co-leaders. I think some of those differences were overstated, but it's fair to say that politically you're quite different to them. Now, of course, political parties are always umbrellas. They bring people together. That's the point. Do you think you might face something of a struggle, though, to integrate those particular individuals within your leadership, given that they're parliamentarians? They have a big profile that you don't have. Unlike the other major parties, the leaders of those major parties are in Parliament. You're not. Do you think that's going to present problems for you?
So there's two parts to that question. I think the first part is, will there be disagreements? Absolutely. We're a political party. And I think if we're not having disagreements, then are you actually dealing with the challenges of the day? And I really encourage constructive disagreements that are heated moments where you decide, you really argue and kind of almost have a workshop on what is the communication that you're putting across. But I think the more serious question that underlies that is the fact that me and Adrian in particular have worked together in a leadership team now for 3 years, and we've worked incredibly well together. In fact, so well that we've had our best results ever. I have absolutely no doubt that we'll continue to work that professional relationship. Hand on heart, would I rather it was a bit more interpersonal? I like to be mates with the people around me. No, but I think people just aren't bothered about that. I think people want to know: are the political party working to lower their bills? Are they looking to challenge the government? Are they looking to tackle the far right? And I have no doubt that alongside the four MPs, there is absolute common cause in doing the things that we need to do in this country. And that's really not one of my concerns. I think it's one of those things that has been overstated.
What are your targets for the next 12 months? Zack Polanski on his to-do by the end of 2026. What are we talking about here? Have you got certain targets you want to reach, certain objectives you want to accomplish?
Yeah, the media is very much in my sights, first of all. So I know we've had this conversation before, but the media, the Green Party traditionally have not got the media and airtime that they deserve. And deserve is a careful word because, who deserves anything? But Reform get constant media. It is wall-to-wall media. Now, I can carry on complaining about that, and I'm certainly happy to whine about it every so often. Or we can go, what do we need to do differently to cut through? So my first target is the video you just showed, the beach video that I had. There's more of this stuff coming. In fact, there's some exciting news happening tomorrow as well. And that's going to be kind of building the way that I communicate with the public, with the party members, but more widely to the country. I think second, there's those 39 seats where we came in second place. I think mission critical, or the first mission, is to turn those into first. So how do you start to look at where you came second place? What do you need to do? But the limit isn't just there either, because two of the seats that we won at the general election, we actually came from fourth or fifth place to come to first place. So with the right messaging, with the right resourcing and volunteer recruitment, there's nowhere we can't win. Now, that's not me saying we are going to, go everywhere and win everywhere. That's clearly not going to happen for any political party. You have to target and you have to focus. But I think one of the next targets is, what is the conversation we have about exactly where we're targeting and focusing? And how do we make sure that the party more widely is really bought into the vision of what does this look like? And then finally, I'd say this mission starts today, which is, we know the Labour Party are obsessed with reform. They're obsessed with Nigel Farage. I'm really pleased, and this is going to sound odd, but I'm really pleased that the moment I won today, the Labour press office put out a press statement that was essentially a character assassination of me, or an attempted 1-2. That tells me they're rattled, and that's exactly where I want them to be. The Labour Party could have taken the smart decision today, which I think is the kind of thing Sadiq Khan would have said, which is, congratulations to Zack. He's on the progressive wing of politics. We look forward to cooperating with him. But here's the reasons why you shouldn't vote Green. So it's a kind of very cautious, nod. This was a complete opposite. This was recognizing that I'm going to be talking about tackling inequality. I'm going to be talking about the genocide in Gaza. I'm going to be talking about Labour's vested interests in the corporate capital that party is absolutely in hock to. And I think that does terrify the Labour Party. It doesn't terrify them yet in the same way that Farage does. And so that's why our party keeps swinging to the right. My central mission is to make sure that Keir Starmer becomes obsessed, not just with me, but with the Green Party and their entire movement, because I think that's how we change politics right now, and we don't even have to wait until the next general election.
My final question, Zack, and thanks for giving us, almost 10 minutes of your time on a really, really important big day. Some would say that you guys, the Green Party, and of course this new Left Party with Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana, you will break up Labour's coalition. Yes, the Greens could do extraordinarily well. They could win dozens of seats maybe at the next election. Most of those will be Labour seats. I believe you're second in 40 seats, 39 of those are Labour seats. And all that's doing is handing the keys to Nigel Farage in order to step into number 10 and become the next Prime Minister. What would your response be to that line of criticism?
Give us proportional representation. How dare Keir Starmer, when his members and the unions say we want proportional representation, look at all of the members of the union and go, no, we're not doing that. We're sticking to first past the post. And then have the chutzpah of the audacity at the next general election to go, you have to vote for Keir Starmer, you're going to get Nigel Farage. That will totally be on him. Now, I'm not willing to wait until the next general election to have that conversation. So if Keir Starmer wants to introduce proportional representation, I don't think he's going to, but if he does, this would change the dynamic of this conversation. I think there would be a legitimacy to what does the left need to do to work together with a party we strongly dislike, or a government we strongly dislike, for the greater good, to get a change in the electoral voting system so we can have proper and democratic elections in the future. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I also, and I think this is important, I really like Jeremy Corbyn. I like Zara Sultana. Personal relationships are important, and I absolutely align with most of what they stand for. That's not me kind of quietly being quiet about differences. We don't know what this party is going to stand for yet, so I'm just being cautious before that's set up. Jeremy, on Thursday and Friday, is setting up a Gaza inquiry in Westminster. This is where the government told him he couldn't have an independent inquiry. Massive respect to Jeremy Corbyn. He just said, okay, the government's not going to give it me. I'm going to make it happen anyway. And I think this is an example of where you can see a politician from another party, or potentially another party, and go, you know what? That's perfect. And I absolutely want to align with the things that you're doing there. you'd also expect me to say this, but my main focus right now is growing the Green Party, making sure we're not having conversations right now about what the future of our party is or what our policies are. We are up and running right now. And I don't mean that as a disrespect to anyone involved with the new party. The biggest thing I'd say to you, and you can probably relate to this, Aaron, is I'm sick of being on media panels where I'm the only left voice and the only left voice all day. I obviously want more green voices on media, but actually if there are people on the left who are saying similar things that I am, and we have a diversity of messengers in this country to challenge reform and challenge the Labour government, then I think that's totally a positive thing. And the final thing I want to say, and I'm saying at the end, so I can't be accused of being a kiss ass, is you don't need to thank me for your time. Novara Media is incredibly important in this space and the operations and the project that we want to do. And people must support independent media because we know legacy and mainstream media have, most of them, utterly failed us. And actually, this is the time to have new media that's independent, that will hold politicians to account, that will be transparent about things, but also to tell the truth.
Zach, it's a great place to end on. And again, congratulations. 85% is a heck of a lot. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron.
85%. That was very kind of Zach, by the way. Just to be clear, again, I'm not a Green Party member. Helena is. I voted Green at the last election, but I'm not a Green Party member precisely because if the Greens do something I disagree with, I want to be able to say it, right? I think in the last election, they were wrong about HS2 and about nuclear power. I still voted for them. Nobody's perfect. I do agree, though, about the need for more left-wing voices in the media. I did the BBC a couple of weeks ago now, BBC Radio 5, and I was on with the guy from the Times, and they said, so-and-so from the Times newspaper. And they said, I'm starting from left-wing, radical left, Novara Media. I'm saying, hold on, it's owned by Rupert Murdoch. Why don't you introduce them as Rupert Murdoch owned? I was half expecting the line to go dead, but they let me carry on. Anyway, let's look at some reactions to Zack Polanski's election as leader of the Greens. There were warm welcomes from the co-founders of the New Left Party. This was from Jeremy Corbyn. Congratulations to Zack Polanski on your stunning victory. Your campaign took on the rich and powerful, stood up for the dignity of all marginalised communities, and gave people hope. Real change is coming. I look forward to working with you to create a fairer, kinder world. Meanwhile, Zara Sultana posted this. Congratulations, Zack Polanski, on being elected Green Party leader. At a time when Labour protects the super rich and reform fuels hatred, the real answers lie not in scapegoating, but in bold visions of justice, equality, and climate action. I look forward to working together. A former Green Party leader, as well as their first ever MP, Caroline Lucas, said this. Big congratulations, Zack Polanski. Really gracious in victory and hugely ambitious for party. As he said in his acceptance speech, the Greens aren't here to be disappointed by Labour. We are here to replace them and to challenge power and wealth in this country. Join us. Wow, strong words. Some Liberals, though, still haven't read the room. This was from online commentator Supertansky. So, a white middle-class man has become leader of the Green Party. That's about as groundbreaking as a Tory sex scandal. She wisely deleted that post. But I should say, I kind of remember her being a big fan of Keir Starmer for the last 4 years. A straight white dude. Again, I literally don't care. I literally don't care. A straight white dude, he should be the prime minister. By the way, Zack Polanski's Jewish. I think he's the first openly gay party leader as a sole leader of a party in British history. By the way, nobody's mentioning that. But he's the problem, but I can shill for Keir Starmer for 4 years. Make it make sense. However, the most desperate response came from none other than Labour's press office with this. Meet Zack Polanski. This is the person who the Greens just elected as their new leader. They've shared a link from the Sun newspaper. And that link says this, for people who are listening on the podcast, I'll read it to you. Has the time come when we can burn all those uncomfortable push-up bras? Hypnotherapist Zack Polanski reckons so. He says he can boost your cup size using the mind alone. Quote, this is an extremely new approach, but I can see it becoming popular very quickly because it's so safe and a lot cheaper than a boob job says. By the way, because I'm a weird person, in terms of hypnosis having an impact on breast size, there is actually a scholarly research field on this. There are some research papers from the 1970s saying that, yes, hypnosis can increase breast size because hypnosis can create more of this hormone or that hormone. To be clear, I don't think that. It's been discredited by more recent science, but there is something of a literature on it. Interesting, though, that a political party which is helping aid and abet a genocide, which has killed 16,000 plus children, has more problems with hypnosis. Cardiff East MP Jo Stevens wasn't impressed either. She said this: just awful. Now, I don't know. Can we read this again? Look, is Jo Stevens saying just awful about Zack Polanski or about her party's response? I think it's about Zack Polanski, right? Just awful. How awful. How awful. Just awful. What an awful man. You know, we've got RAF flights every day giving reconnaissance to the IDF to kill thousands of children, but just awful. He's hypnotizing women to help them with their body image. Just awful. Disgusting. Outrageous. Just awful. Get some perspective. Please. Helena, could the boobnosis line stick?
Well, given this is a quote from The Sun, I find it very surprising that the newspaper of page 3 might have some opposition to the idea that people are getting bigger tits. So fundamentally, I think that this is something from a different era of politics. Fundamentally, it's part of this kind of the centrist optics brigade that represents the kind of right wing of the Labour Party, who believe that they can essentially smear people with these kind of attacks that they don't like to make them look like they are politically irrelevant. When we are seeing the results of the kind of politics that the Labour writers represented fail time and time and time again in terms of people's actual material conditions, and any concerns around what someone did a decade ago is completely irrelevant to most people who want to see their food get cheaper, their bills more affordable, and their wages go up and their rent go down. That's the reality that people actually care about. They actually care about what are the government going to do to help them and help their families and help society heal itself, given the divisions that we are currently seeing on our streets every single day. An ill-judged moment from somebody from 10 years ago would be a scandalous piece of political theatre. A, if it was any time recent, and B, if we were living in the political era that the Labour right seemed to continually live in, this 1997 era of politics, which doesn't exist anymore. The times have changed, and you cannot just rerun the Blairite playbook and pretend that you're the adults in the room compared to the student politics of the left when you don't actually have any serious political and policy responses to the kind of multi-crises that we're currently seeing in terms of domestically, geopolitically, economically, socially, whatever it might be. There seems to be so many things creaking at the seams in this country that whatever Zack was doing as a hypnotherapist, getting stung by the Murdoch rags, however it was, however long ago, is completely irrelevant to politics in 2025. Although what I will say, the Labour Party continually approvingly quoting The Sun's journalism, or indeed Keir Starmer writing for The Sun, or indeed having somebody from The Sun becoming his director of communications, should tell you a lot about this party and who they stand for and who they represent. Their conference is in Liverpool, as it usually is, right? I don't think the scouts of this world are going to be too pleased to find out about these kind of things and the relationships between the Murdoch press and the current leadership of the Labour Party. At the very least, Zack is a man who has some principles, who at least apologises when he gets things wrong, but would never write in a rag like The Sun.
Yeah. I'm just still thinking about just awful. Can you imagine? Where were you 10 years ago? Well, I was voting to reform welfare so that the poorest people in this country got even less. What were you doing? I was hypnotizing people, some of which was related to body image. You bastard! You know, I was taking money away from people with no arms and legs, but you were hypnotizing people to make them feel better about themselves. How dare you? You know, the complete lack of perspective from the permanent political class in this country, most of all, by the way, from Labour, is something to behold. They have absolutely no perspective. These people genuinely believe what Zack Polanski did. They genuinely believe that's more morally disagreeable than arming Israel or than giving them, which we are, a ton of reconnaissance. Giving them a ton of reconnaissance to prosecute a genocide. They genuinely think that is worse than the other one. And I'll tell you why, because I've been up close and personal with people for 15 years. They think that it's worse because they're on the other side, right? What I do is the good thing because I'm the good person. That's literally their moral starting point. I'm the good person, therefore what I say is the good thing. And because I'm the good person, if you disagree, that makes you the bad person. This is the modus operandi of the Labour centre. And it's morally vacuous. And it's politically vacuous, as we've seen over the last 13 months while they've been in government. Before we go to our next story, one way to support our work here at Novara Media is through buying merchandise from our shop. All the profits of the books, t-shirts, and bags you can find there go directly to funding Novara Media's journalism in print. It's not in print, but it's in words, in podcasts, and on the screen with things like Downstream and, of course, Novara Live. All our t-shirts are printed by I Dress Myself. They are a real living wage employer, and the supply chains for the t-shirts are exceptional. Unionized labor, organic cotton. I have to say, I think it's terrific stuff. The tracksuit bottoms, which we no longer sell, I still have them. Maybe we'll start those up again. They are the most comfortable tracksuit bottoms I've ever had. I wear these t-shirts all the time, not to promote Novara Media, sorry, but because the supply chains are outstanding, really comfortable, actually. If this wasn't branded, I would still buy it. You can't do that, of course, because these are wholesale t-shirts from Stanley and Stella. Fantastic stuff. So if you want to buy t-shirts with amazing supply chains and to help our work here at Novara Media, go to shop.novaramedia.com to see what we have. Great stuff there. I just bought a few t-shirts from my dad and his partner. They love them. Like I say, so comfortable. I am not shilling right now, okay? Genuinely comfortable stuff. This is the Calvin Klein underwear of t-shirts as far as I'm concerned. Let's see what you've got to say for yourselves in the Comstock. We've got at Starships D or at Starship SD. Didn't cause any problems for Farage to not be an MP most of the time, did it? Reform generally didn't have MPs, although they did have a few MPs from by-elections, that's fair. If anything, a non-MP has more time in which to devote to leadership roles. Very true. It's still unusual, but that's very true. I think the right person can do a fantastic job outside Parliament. I actually think you're right. The right person can make it an asset, not a liability. At Taya Fraser, 8059 with £4.99. Helena for leader of literally anything. Helena, quickly, what's your response to that? Would you be the leader of literally anything?
I mean, it depends what it is. I've always tried to stay away from politics. I'm a bit of a divisive figure, and I think I'd be particularly unifying for anyone who didn't agree with me. But you know what? If I was going to be leading something that was a little less contentious, maybe I'd lead the Magic the Gathering team. Certainly be up for that.
I think they mean politics, right? But Helena, because you're a Green Party member. Would you ever actually seek elected office? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, people have asked me plenty of times, but there are numerous reasons why I would not want to. And sadly, I think one of the reasons I would not want to do so is I just don't want to be a trans person in the public eye at this point. No, I would rather not have to deal with lots and lots of very nasty words thrown my way. Get enough as a YouTuber, political platform, probably something I would avoid.
Yeah, I totally understand. Personally, people have said this to me, would you go to politics? I'd like to be maybe a mayor. That seems really fun and you can do a lot. An MP, you're a cog in a machine, frankly. That can change, of course. But a mayor seems really good. You can do a heck of a lot and you can really set an agenda. Look at what Burnham's doing in Greater Manchester. And by the way, Greater Manchester, or the Manchester metro area, by the standards of European cities, they do not have many powers. Look what the Paris mayor, Anne Hidalgo's done with regards to cycling in that city. Phenomenal. I would totally do that. If you want to make me the mayor for the new Hampshire super region, which we're going to get next year, great. I don't think I'd want to be an MP. Councillor as well. Great job. People say I love, grassroots organising and helping people. And just like the Black Panthers, you should run for council. That's kind of what you're meant to do.